If you want your Can-Am motor to last, don't take it to the dealership for an oil change. Today we're going to show you why and how to do it yourself.
Let's get started.
Let's get started.
All right, so we're gonna we've got the oil pan, drain pan underneath the rig. Backed it up on ramps just to give me a little more height. Warm your motor up. Get your motor up to operating temperature. So you're going to need 17 millimeter socket to drain the oil. And I am going to go grab a glove right quick. So if you want to stare at the sockets and the ratchets, feel free to. And before we get started, one thing you need to do before you drain your oil is make sure that you have oil to go back in. So this is an XPS lubricant, and I had a hard time finding everything a la carte, so I ended up buying one of these, and it seemed like it was going to be about the same price. But anyway, pick the kit that fits your machine. This comes with everything you need. It has the amount of oil, has an OEM filter, has the crush washers, O-rings, and so you're ready to go. Now, let's get going. Apply your parking brake. So I break it loose with a 1/2 inch drive just because you get a little bit more leverage. And then I switch to 3/8 if I need to. And then when we put it back in, we will use 3/8 and we will torque it to spec. Probably should have used 2 gloves, but I didn't think I was going to need to. So now I realize the motor is not level because I've got it on ramps, and I really just wanted to make the first part easy, and so that's why I put it on ramps. And then I will I'm just going to take the parking brake off, roll it off the ramps, and then it'll be a little more difficult to get back under here, but that'll be okay. So this is the initial oil change. Looks like this one has a magnetic plug, so let's take a look at this plug. So you can see we've got nothing major on here, just some small grit, so might be a couple of a little bit larger pieces in there. So I'm going to clean this up, but it looks just like fine wear, what you would expect on your break-in oil change. Don't start your motor with no oil in it. Let's see if I can think of any other warnings. Have someone nearby in case something goes wrong. I'll say this is an interesting oil plug. I've changed oil in a lot of different vehicles, but I've never had one that had this groove beside the magnet. So I guess it gives the magnet more surface area. I'm not sure what the rationale is for this, but I'm trying to clean out anything that's in there. And you might want to fast forward through this video, but I would sit tight because we're getting ready, as soon as we get the oil completely out of it, we're getting ready to get to the point of why you shouldn't take it to the dealership. And because I have a feeling most dealerships are not going to go to the trouble that you would go to if you changed it yourself. And I'll say this, if your vehicle is spotless, you could probably take it to the dealership. But I want you to take note of where the oil filter is. Hey, can you grab that light for me, babe? It's down there, underneath. Hold it right here behind me. So, if you can see, the oil filter is right here. You can see where can't see where my finger is. Let's get this light down here. So, it's completely on the front of the motor. Hold it right there. So turn it around. So it's right here. So you've got all these hoses and wire looms right across it. And I could get to this if I wanted to with some difficulty. But the problem is, unless your machine is perfectly spotless, these are going to be covered in dirt and it's going to contaminate your oil filter. So we're going to look at this a little more in detail in just a second. So now I'm going to move my oil pan a little forward. Hey, will you let the parking brake off? Just put it in neutral and we'll ease it down.
Nope. So just put it in neutral?
Yeah, just put it in neutral. Okay, let off the brake. Okay, ease it down now. Easy. Stop right there. Put the brake back on. And now we've got a little bit more oil draining out.
While we're waiting for the oil to finish draining, do you guys know what this is? This is your owner's manual. A lot of guys don't know what it is. But if you will check this before you get started, you can read and find out what type of oil you need, the capacity, and how to the torque specs that you'll need whenever you're putting everything back together.
Okay, guys. We've waited for the oil to drain, so it stopped dripping. And there's a couple of things that you need to do. So I've cleaned the drain plug, and then you can see this washer. So we've got a new washer on here, but we need to verify that it's clean where the drain plug came out and that the old washer is not left behind. So we're going to do that now. It's much tighter under here without the ramps. Alright, so we're going to get our light. You can tell we've rehearsed this. So I've got my light. And there's no washer there. So I'm just wiping away the oil from the plastic skid pan. And so everything's clean. We've got our washer on. And now, always start it with your fingers. Don't ever start it with a ratchet or impact gun or anything like that. So now we're going to get our torque wrench out. And where did our ratchets go? Let me grab those. So this calls for 22 foot-pounds. So I went ahead and set it for 22 foot-pounds. All right, we're good. All right, it's time to move up top now. Okay, now for the moment of truth. So this is why you really don't want to take it to the dealership. Earlier when I was talking to you, I said you could get to the oil filter from out here, but it's extremely tight and there's a lot of things in your way. So to get to the oil filter, you've got to remove the seat backs. You have to remove this lower panel that's like this. You also have to remove this heat shield and panel. And it has 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11, looks like 11 bolts in it. So all of this has to be removed so you can get to the oil filter, which is right here. And so you can clearly see it. But the other thing is, you've got these hoses that are hanging over top of it. So you need someone to hold these hoses out of the way. So I went ahead and I've cleaned all this stuff the best that I could. You can still see a little bit of dust here, and I'll wet all this stuff down as well to keep the dust down. But so I'm gonna have my wife hold the hoses back. This takes an 8mm socket, or let's see, I'm trying to see, T30 Torx bit. So I prefer using a socket just to avoid from stripping it out. So we're going to turn the camera off. I'm going to have her hold the hoses back so I can remove the oil filter, and we'll be right back. Okay, so we've taken the oil filter cover off, and I put a little shop towel down there while we're filming this. But so this is what the oil filter cover looks like from the inside. I've already disposed of the oil filter, and my assistant will hold the camera for me. So you're going to need to remove this old gasket, okay? So make sure you do that. Then we're going to wipe this clean. So we've got it nice and clean. And then what we want to do is we want to put the new gasket on. So you don't want to forget to lubricate the gasket, all right? You got to have lube. So I'm going to take some of the clean oil, got it on my finger, and we're just going to lightly lubricate this. Just kind of go around like that. So we've got it coated. Always use a fresh gasket. Always lubricate it. And now we're going to get the oil filter. So this oil filter has a gasket on it as well. So we're going to lubricate it. And unfortunately, I can't put this on camera, but because she's got to hold the hoses back out of the way. So what we'll do is, now that we've got all this cleaned, lubed up, I'm just going to simply drop the oil filter into the hole where the other one came out of. Gasket in first. Sorry, that was the air compressor. So the gasket in first, so the solid end will be facing out, and then we'll just put the screws back on. Alright, so we've got the oil in. Actually, we've got the oil filter in, and went ahead and put the cap back on that. So now we're going to go ahead and start putting the oil in. As she told you before, make sure you check your owner's manual, check for the capacities. We cleaned around the oil filler cap and the dipstick. This particular model calls for 2.1 quarts. So this is the easy part. So we'll get it filled up with oil, and I'll come back and show you how to put everything back together. Alright guys, funny story but true. It's 3 to 4 days later after I started making this video, and because it got late and I had some other stuff I needed to do, and I got sidetracked, and my wife, that you guys saw earlier in the video, asked me, this is the funny part, in case you don't get my humor, why again should they not take their Can-Am to the dealership to get serviced? And obviously she was saying it because this was a total pain in the rear end to take all this stuff out. But again, the main point is just because I feel confident that your dealership is not going to take all this out. And if they do, they're not going to take the effort to keep the dirt and dust out from getting down into the filter housing. But so I didn't take a video of removing all the everything. So what I'm going to do is, if you're curious, I'm going to do a video now. Hopefully I'm doing this kind of point of view, and I'm hopeful that you will be able to see what I'm doing. So we'll see. But anyway, part of this falls out of the picture. So this is going to go in, and it's going to just slides in here. So just going to work it down. I've got these Torx in my hand, but it took me a few minutes of working with it when I pulled it out to get it in the right position. So let's see. Now that I've got two hands, there we go. All right, so got that in. Let's grab the thread locker. So I'm just putting a dab of thread locker on these. They've got some from the factory, but once you take them loose, you are reducing. See, they're yellow from the factory, but that thread locker is no longer as effective. So again, I apologize if where I'm putting these you can't see. I'm hoping that the camera's aimed there. That's just kind of part of it when you're doing point of view stuff. But try to hold everything out in front of me. And again, the whole purpose of this is just to kind of show you what has to come out to get to your oil filter, because I just failed the video, the first part of this, because once I got started, I thought to myself, I was like, you know, somebody else might want to know how to do this, so maybe I should do a video on it. And that's why we're doing the video. So now there's also some that are under the seats. So hopefully you can see that. So I'm going to try to get my hand in here. I'm trying to think how I did this. I think I went from underneath before I did. So yeah, I had to access it from underneath, but there's two that's right here under the ECU. At least I'm assuming that's what what this is in this box. So you got two on this side. And then I think we've got two on the other side as well. Let's take a look. Okay, found one. I gotta find the other one. Yeah, it's right. Of course, it's right behind the hinge. I remembered one being a little more difficult. Okay, so hand tightened them. Always hand tighten first. Now I'm just going to use the trusty Milwaukee. I'm just going to put it on a low torque setting. Just take them in slow. So you can see I'm having to use a universal. To access some of these. It's probably not a good view there. Sorry, I bumped my head. Alright, and get the last two. I hope that light is not in your eyes. Alright, so get those in. Now, so this is the center console. So we've got to get it back in. It's pretty straightforward. And then we've also got to put in some of these little push pins that everyone that rides is familiar with. So there's a tab here out on the end. See the tab? And the tab here. So those tabs go in. Got those tabs in. Now this one goes underneath the seat belt. So now I'm pulling from the bottom, trying to work it down into place. Get those tabs that go behind, and this goes behind here, and I think we're in. And apparently we're not, because this seat's catching. So alright, that seat's coming up and down freely. This one's catching a little. Make sure we're straight down here at the bottom. Alright. I think we're good. So you got one pin there. And like I said, this is everything I've done here. Just do it the opposite and you'll be fine. This is relatively straightforward. Got your pins or your cotter keys. Slide one through. Now we're going to slide the other through. Put the pins in. Make sure it's moving freely. Latches properly. Unlatches perfect. Now we'll put the seat backs in. So these hooks, we'll just hook over the frame rail there. We'll pull this seat belt out. Make sure that I'm good there. Pull this one out. Now, just pops in just like that. And it'll be the same on the driver's side, except you won't have two seat belts in the way, only one. Make sure the seat belt's free. All right, we're buttoned back up, and we've already ran it and checked the oil. Don't ever overfill it. I will say that. It's better to be slightly low than too full. So always remember that. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Appreciate you watching, and hopefully this will help you out. If you like it, if it was helpful to you, hit that subscribe button and like button. I'd really appreciate that. You guys have a great day. Thanks.